Hello, everybody. I'm Lee Poskanzer, and I am CEO and founder of Directive Communication Systems. And I have along with me Carrie Peliquin, who is our VP of Client Management. She's joined us. I don't know if everybody can see her or not in your view, but we will be walking you through a little bit about DCS, how to use the system, how to optimize the platform, and prepare your estate appropriately. As many of us know, digital assets are growing in our own portfolios, and they are tricky little buggers. We just had a scenario where another family couldn't get access to their own pictures and videos up in Apple iCloud. And they are about to embark on probably what will be a multi-year court battle to just get some of those assets down. This is a growing trend, and as we accumulate more property over time and more accounts and we build our digital footprint, it only becomes more and more complicated for the representatives when the time comes. So I'm going to share the screen for just a moment and walk you through a little bit of a presentation about us and what we do. Oops, I forgot that computer's not working. So Directive Communication Systems, I hope all of you know by now that we are helping to protect your digital assets and your estate value by recording your online accounts and the assets that may reside within them. An asset can be something as simple as a communication with friends and family to all the way to investments online that we may make either through traditional financial institutions such as banks or online brokerages, or non-traditional assets or non-traditional financial assets that somebody may one day try to invest in cryptocurrency. Or if we're looking at video games, sometimes we invest some money in those assets in those games. We also are looking at new technology that may have financial value down the road that we want to protect now. So we record those online accounts and the assets. We also make sure your devices are accessible. If anybody remembers the big argument between the government and Apple when the San Bernardino bomber's iPhone was found, Apple would not unlock it, citing privacy policies. We help to ensure to get your intent of what to do with that device, but more importantly, the accounts and apps that reside on those servers. We help you to organize those directives. There will be two types of directives you should be considering. One is who is going to get the data and the information that's associated with the account. Somebody's going to go through the logs or all the emails or all the files. And then the second directive is what to do with that account. Do you want to close it? Do you want to delete it? If possible, do you want to transfer it? So there are some decisions that you'll have to look at. By using the DCS platform, we are making decisions in a legally compliant manner, as well as meeting the terms of service agreements for those websites and apps. Most people don't realize when they agree to a new website or download an app, they're making a legal contract with that content provider that they will abide by the terms of service. 99% of us don't read them. Look, I'm an owner of a company and I don't read them. I'll be honest. It takes apparently research shows it takes 40 minutes to read through the terms of service. And frankly, if I want to say hi to my friends, that takes precedent. So I am no different than anybody else. But we want to also ensure that if you have subscription accounts that could be cloud-based storage, domain name ownership, other elements that require a renewal or a login on a regular basis, that we don't miss those dates. More and more website owners and content providers are having policies of either 12 or 18 months of inactivity. Then they have the right to delete all the contents permanently. So we want to prevent against that. We also want to make sure that financial assets are kept visible. Lastly, when it comes time to do the estate administration, DCS is there to help with the notification and fulfillment process. We reach out to your different custodians, depending on what type it is. We'll either take care of that account, or we'll at least begin the initial steps so that if there's financial matter, it can be settled with the estate as part of its normal everyday practice. There are 4 elements when you're thinking about your digital assets that are critical. One is transparency. If nobody knows the account exists, then nobody can do anything with it. One recent scenario that we've seen is something as simple as treasury notes and bonds. There's an instance where somebody bought them digitally, never told their trust or anybody about them except their sister. And the sister kept the information on a sheet of paper and wasn't discovered until years later when she passed away that the bond owner was discovered that there was several $1,000s more that were supposed to be distributed. So we have to keep those accounts visible. Accessibility, this is dictated by privacy laws, fiduciary access laws, and the terms of service agreements. It's not just good enough to know the account exists, but website owners and app owners, they need to marry up the account holder ID to the account holder, to the estate and the decedent, to a clear directive of what is to happen to your accounts. Without those 4 elements, it's up to the custodian or the content provider to determine if they're going to release information or not. And with Congress becoming more and more involved in data sharing, it's more likely that they'll get more conservative over time, not less. We talked a little bit about the timeliness of getting information. If I have an account that expires on January 1st, but I pass away on December 31st, my estate's got approximately 3 months of a grace period to try to renew that subscription. And if nobody knows the account exists, or the people I designate to do something with that account don't get to it in time, everything can be lost. And if it's a financial matter, like a domain name, a URL, anything like that, somebody else can pick up that domain name and buy it for a low price, and now they own it and it can never be retrieved. So that estate can lose that value very, very quickly. And then the ability of the people that we designate to receive information and go through our different accounts, we have to take into account the amount of work that they're going to have to go through. If you do a lot on social media or Facebook, or you have a lot on emails, that's going to be a lot of time going through the email after getting the data from the website owner, and then being able to identify, is this sentimental? Is this financial? Is it somewhat in between? Who do I need to contact? So we have to make sure that we're not just giving it to 1 or 2 people, but really thinking about who is the best person to go through my pictures on Shutterfly, or those that are maybe in Dropbox. Who's going to go through my email, or who may be dealing with shutting down or contents that may be related to shopping. And that's one that most people don't think about. But if you've done home improvements and you have SKUs on your electronic receipt, once you pass away, the custodian or the website owner looks at that as private information. And if your loved ones need to replace tile, plumbing, electrical, or something of that nature, without that information, they may not be able to replicate it or find the matching pieces. Just to give you an idea, DCS recently did an estate with over 100 different accounts. And because we know the data requirements, the documentation needed, and the submission methods of online custodians or content providers, we were able to handle everything within 60 days. So we were able to, where possible, confirm the accounts were closed or whatever the request was, and be able to pass it on to the estate so that everything was taken care of. And as you can see, we did pretty much every type of account out there, including even college alumni, which I don't know if I have that listed. The system that we're going to walk through in just a few minutes, it's designed for very simplicity. We don't expect you to spend a lot of time in there. Really, after your initial setup and you get your accounts in there on the first round, you maybe come in once or twice a year. This is not something that you need to really be looking at on an everyday basis. If you are, then you're probably spending way too much time with us. We love you, but hopefully there are some other things that you're doing that would have us enter accounts, but not just be the account. We have automated account capture for you, so that way when you're going through your everyday activities and you log in for a new website, it will ask you if you want to deposit that, so you don't actually have to keystroke and type in everything. After you enter your first 10 accounts, we're going to reward you with a gift card. We want you to get into the habit of adding accounts in these first few months and then updating information. So we're going to recognize you with a gift card. And then if there's any questions, we offer multiple ways to reach us: chat, telephone, and email. I will suggest that chat is the quickest way. Carrie, if you think differently, but what I understand, chat is going to be the best way, and we have a good team there.
100% agree.
With the DCS Advantage, thank you, Carrie. With the DCS Advantage, you can put as many accounts in as you want. Although I know Insight Law has a good number of your financial accounts already, it's not a bad idea to have them in our system as well, just as a backup. But it's a good practice to get into. But you can have as many accounts in there as you want. Excuse me, I'm starting to lose my voice. We also created an open notes field. So if you do have, let's say, a Dropbox account and you have something of value in there, you want to point to what it is. So if you have a book manuscript or there's important documents you have in there, you may want to just enter some hints or instructions in the open notes field so that the fiduciaries and your representatives will be able to find what is necessary quicker. As a reminder, DCS takes no passwords. At no point do we actually have any access to your online accounts or apps. We only know they exist and what's to be done with it. It's our first level of security, is to not be able to actually access the accounts. And then, as I mentioned, we have automatic updates and maintenance so that you can go in and change things very quickly or have information automatically updated. When you're getting started with DCS, you want to double check your spam folder for the DCS introductory email if you haven't received it already. It's also a good thing to set the settings to accept emails from DCS. We know that email providers sometimes and randomly will deposit emails into spam. I know that there are a couple people that I've been emailing for years, and once in a while, Google will put their email to me in spam. You want to download the Portfolio Plus, which is our browser extension. That is what captures the accounts on the fly. It gives us your username, the date you log in, and it tells us that you've added that into your portfolio. So you definitely want to download that browser extension. Safari is coming. Apple changed some of the requirements, and we are revising our technology for that. You want to come in to review your DCS profile regularly, once or twice a year. Again, not asking you to do it on a daily or monthly basis or even quarterly, but you do want to come in, maybe put something in your calendar twice a year just to make sure everything is accurate. You can visit our resource center, which I'll show you in just a moment. And that will provide a great amount of videos and information for you. So if you're a do-it-yourselfer, you can see the videos on how to download the browser extension, how to add accounts. Everything is right there for you. And as I mentioned earlier, contact us via email, chat, or phone. Last page, I think this is, you want to choose your designees carefully. I do recommend, if you're not sure who to leave the contents of an account to or the disclosure of that contents, contact Insight Law because they will make a better idea or have a better idea of who you should leave things to. DCS does not provide legal advice, and we will not make any suggestions regarding who to leave data and contents to. Again, review the ability of your designees. You want to be able to identify financial matters such as bank statements, investment statements, You may have purchased something and have a high value receipt somewhere in an email, or you've stored it somewhere. You want to make sure you identify in the system what is financial matter. It itself may not be of value, but like I said, a Dropbox, a Gmail, they may lead to financial matter, and you may want to call that out so that we understand what we need to look for. You want to include your devices so that people can get access to the pictures, let's say on a phone. There's an instance where RBC Bank, Royal Bank of Canada, acted as an executor for a family. They did not have access to the phone, and they handed the phone to one of the sons who tried to get in through passwords. And Apple said, you're permanently locked out, because clearly the account holder and the phone owner did not have the intent to pass it on. And so they were locked out. So you want to try to include devices. And you do not want to share emails with your partner. If, oh, I forgot the third dot there. The email, each person should have their own email address. The terms of service are signed by individuals, and you want to ensure that one site doesn't see another site's memorialization or action and thereby take their own action. So you want to make sure you have your own accounts. And if you share others, that may work. But for your email, you want to create your own email address if you're sharing one with your spouse. And I think that's the end of the show. So before I go to the demonstration of how to use the system, are there any questions? And please just unmute yourself. Any questions? Okay, I thought apparently I did a very good job there.
I have a question quickly before you go on.
Sure.
Have any of you logged into the system yet? No. Okay.
Okay. Has anybody created their own passwords yet? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. If you have not, because I can't see everybody, if you have not, you should have received the introductory email that will link you to creating your password. If you haven't received that, you can come to the first landing page and you'll see forget your password, and it will ask you your email, and then you can send it off and you will be introduced to setting up a new password. So not to worry, you can set up your own password if you forgot it or if you haven't received our introductory email. I'm going to come into the service as a client who has already been enrolled and already established accounts. When you log in for the first time, you will be met with an enrollment wizard that will walk you through step by step on setting up your default settings so that you will create directives for your account disclosure, as well as your final wish action-oriented directive, where we offer you, we will close the account automatically, and you can say, I don't want to close accounts automatically, for those that you have not made account-specific directives for. Here in the directive and designees area, you will be able to identify your friends and family who you want to give access to information to, and that will build your list that you will then select from as you go through the individual accounts and make individual adjustments. Once you've set that up, you will come to this screen, and this will be either set up if you did put friends and family in or remain blank. And we will then have you start adding accounts. There are 3 ways to add accounts. One is if you want to take the time and enter your information individually, you can do that. You can give your account a nickname. You can give a description of it. This is where you would indicate to people where different documents, financial matter, mementos, anything that you want to give people hints or instruction to find, this is where you would put that. You can make an account private by simply clicking on this checkbox. By making an account private, DCS will close that discreetly and your estate will not know about that. That is for accounts that are not financial in nature. For accounts that have financial matter and are not traditional banking or investment brokerages, this is where you would click on financial account. If it's an investment house that we are not aware of, you will then be able to subscribe who your advisor is for that institution. In the gray area, if you decide to keystroke and type everything in, the area here is customized for that particular content provider. So in the case of Amazon, they want the account email and the account holder name. And if you have multiple emails, you'll be able to select from the emails that you input, or you can add another. The next area is the most important. This is where you're going to select from the group that you've provided who is going to receive the contents of your accounts. Most, if not all, site owners at this point will not grant these individuals or entities direct access to your account where they can behave like you. What they will do is data dump everything onto a cloud storage or onto a disk drive and distribute it to you or to those people that are selected. So at no point can someone go in and steal information or be able to create reputational disparagement, with the exception of these people. I'm sorry, not with the exception, because they won't be able to impersonate you. They'll just be able to get the data. But otherwise than that, nobody can create harm to your account. In the bottom area, this is the action-oriented directive, where you can close the account or remove your name from the account. Notice with Amazon, there is no transfer. So if you're the payer, if it's your credit card, they will not allow your account to be transferred, which makes disclosure of the account contents that much more important, because if you do have SKUs or you have information or there are book clubs or music that people want to continue, you need to download it and then be able to have somebody else open the account. Once you enter the data, you would say hit save, and then it will appear. There are two other methods for adding accounts. One is our portfolio link, where if you have a cheat sheet, which 90% of us have, and that can be in a Word format, an Excel format, it can be a scan. If you have a password manager, it can be a download. Whatever methodology you have, you take that file, you remove the passwords. We will not accept it if it has passwords. We're that strict. You confirm that you've removed the passwords and you upload the file to us. And at a later time, you'll come in and your accounts will be there. And we'll go over the status in a moment, but they will then be there. There may be times where we can't read your handwriting, or you may have used an abbreviation. So you may find us reaching back out to you to get more information. Lastly, if you are continually adding new accounts, etc., then we are going to have a wrong computer, a browser extension, and this is the Portfolio Plus, that will automatically capture or ask you if you want to add that account to the Directive Communications. Here's the black bar. I assume everybody can see my screen, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, great. I hate to do that and realize that the screen was never shared. So we have the add account, not now or never. If you want to add the account to your portfolio, then you can do so. Not now. It may be an account you're thinking about. You may not want to use it. You're not sure, or never. It may be an account that you know you're only going to use once, or you don't want to include in your portfolio. Once you make that choice, we have the records and the information that are necessary to handle the account. The browser extension Portfolio Plus, here the icon is here in the upper right-hand corner. It is in color, which means it's active. If it was grayed out, it means it's not active. You do have to download it from your store. And then when you do download it, you then have to log into it. Otherwise, it will not be active. So it's a two-step process. Downloading it to your computer and your device, and then activating it by logging into your DCS account. I'm going to go ahead and accept the account. Kerry, there is somebody in the chat. Do you want to see if that's a question? And then I'm going to go back to here, refresh. And now Facebook is here. And we, as you can see, we have the information that's important. We have the nickname. I can change it. I can make a description. And now I'm going to select Alex to receive the contents. And I also want Bill to gather the contents. And after that's done, in the case of Facebook, I want to memorialize it so that my friends have a celebration of life every year. So I hit memorialize and then I click here and it brings me right to Facebook where I can designate who that friend will manage my digital content on Facebook. They'll be able to post dates and other information, but they will not be able to see any private information such as Insta messages or other related matter. They'll only be able to post a little bit and maybe put some pictures up. So the access on the Digital Legacy Content Manager or the memorialization is limited, which is why you want the full disclosure of account contents if you think it's going to be important. I have to move the screen there. Okay, so I'm going to take delete account. Just prepare for the next webinar. On the left, these are the icons that tell us that you have deviated from the defaults that you've set up. And in the case of Amazon, you've made these people the recipients of your data to be disclosed. That's what the key stands for. The lock tells us it's private. So you've decided to keep that private. On the right, these are the action-oriented directives that we discussed. A do not enter sign means to remove your name from a family share plan. An X means to delete the account. An arrow means to transfer the account. And a dollar sign means that it's financial matter and that it needs to be settled. In the case of Bank of America, obviously it's financial matter, but you can see that we have the different types of accounts. And as part of our security, we have bank level security and PCI compliance so that only the last 3 or 4 digits are visible. And even our customer service team is unable to see that. You also want to take note, for example, Google. Google is considered Gmail, and here there's bank statements in here. So we know that the estate has to look for bank statements in order to settle. Also, there may be other matters in there, and this is by Google's demand, that you can check all, or you can go individually and check the ones you need and see fit. Only Google really is doing that today. My assumption is as companies consolidate and become bigger and have different brands, we're going to see more and more like this. And then there's no account action because there's financial. The same thing can be said for Dropbox. In here, there's a manuscript for a book. So this person's a writer and they received a $40,000 advance. So we know we have to be aware of that. And there's stock certificates in here, which is why they've indicated it's a financial account. In terms of devices, we have cell phones, tablets, etc. You can say what the item is. what type it is, and some additional information. This is the only time we take a passcode because you have to have the device in hand. So that way, if something were to happen, we can go back to the service or the manufacturer and be able to say, please unlock this device. This is the intent of the owner. So that way it's covered and we can get access to the hard drive that's on that device. If there are personal settings such as address changes or information that you want to change your password, that's all under the settings. And then if you have questions, there is the resource center that has videos available for you and other information that you may want to check out. As a reminder, DCS never becomes a holder of any of your account's contents. We are not to be designated as a recipient. The only information we want is the information regarding how and where you want your accounts to be distributed. So we want to make sure that we're doing our jobs appropriately. Other than that, Carrie, I don't know if there's anything additional that I am missing.
I just wanted to put a reminder in the bottom right-hand corner. You'll see that little blue icon that says chat with us. The chat is open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern time. And we generally respond to that within the minute you send it to a minute later. So it's probably the most effective way to get a hold of us if you need us quickly.
And we are closed on traditional holidays. So I do want to bring that up as well. All right. Are there any questions?
I know it's a lot of information. So if you don't have any now, when you start going through and setting up your account, by all means, just chat with us and we're happy to answer and walk you through everything.
Absolutely. And one other thing that we probably haven't discussed is while we talk about digital assets and property, if you do have physical accounts as well, let's say a magazine account or something, you can enter that. It just becomes very difficult for me to repeat digital assets and physical assets. And people then get annoyed with me and say I take up too much time, which I tend to do anyways. So if there are, the last question, last area I forgot to mention is here. This is the status of your account profile. Do not be nervous if you see something in process or incomplete. If it's in process, it may be an account that you've introduced us to, and we're going to find out the protocols. In some instances, they may not get back to us, like a boozy.com, which might be a local bike shop or a local restaurant. They may not actually have a formalized process, but we're still going to try to figure it out. But it may not, we may never actually have a formalized process. So don't be worried if you see something in process for a while. We either have to wait for them or they may not be getting back to us just because of the nature of their business. If you see an incomplete, you want to try to figure out what's missing. So in the case of Delta Airlines, we're missing the username. So we'll want to try to figure out what that is. That might have been manually entered versus a automatic deposit. So you want to try to complete those, but if they're there, that doesn't necessarily mean we can't do the job. So I think that really does finalize what I have to say. And if there's no other questions, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and say thank you to everybody. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, again, contact us through the different ways, and we really look forward to working with you.